Here to talk about Be Your Own Best Publicist and how to leverage those classic PR skills to get hired, noticed, and rewarded at work. There's never been a more important time to stand out in a good way in the workplace, whatever you do, whatever your level. It's a tough economy. We know this. How do you differentiate yourself from others? So that's what we'll talk to you about. But first, we just want to make sure that everyone knows what PR is, just in case you're not in the communications field. So what is PR, right? PR is about reputation. It's the result of what you do, what you say, and what others say about you. And what it isn't.
Well, some of you may be studying advertising as well, but there's a phrase we use in our industry: advertising you pay for, public relations you pray for. And what that means is when you take out an ad, you know exactly what's going to show up, you know what message is going to be on the page, you even know what page it's going to be on, or you know where in a show it's going to air on television. And you certainly hope that what shows up is exactly what you paid for. PR is a little bit different. It's less tangible, and you don't know all of the time what is going to show up until you open the paper that morning or you turn on the television. And what good PR people try to do is to control the process as much as possible and make sure that they're getting the media person they're working with the most accurate up-to-date information, the messages they want to get out there, into the piece, so that when they read it, they won't be completely surprised or disappointed. On the other hand, PR can often be more credible than advertising because it's a third-party endorsement, and we'll talk more about third-party endorsements later in the presentation, and you often read it as news.
Right. I mean, if you think about it, how many people really watch commercials anymore except during Super Bowl, right? You're fast-forwarding through, you're doing that, but you are paying attention, in theory, to the news.
We hope so. Both of our husbands are in advertising.
Exactly. That's true.
So going back to building your personal brand and your reputation, often what makes up your brand is not just what you do during working hours or during school hours. It's what makes you an interesting person all around. So my boss, the Chief Communication Officer of Hearst Corporation, when she interviews people, I now know that she calls it the crazy test. And what that is she always asks people at the end of an interview, what are the last 2 books you read? What magazines would you pick up at a newsstand if you're getting on an airplane? What do you like to do for fun outside of work? And she says the people who stammer and stutter and can't answer that question, or haven't read a book lately, or don't really have any interests outside of work, she doesn't usually hire, because she figures what you do outside of your sort of work persona really makes you a more interesting person and helps you bring more to the workplace. So, tip number 1 is the message is key. In PR, when you get a new project or a new client, the very first thing you do is determine what are your key messages. What is it that you want to communicate to the outside world, to the press, to the public, to your customers? And in essence, since you are your own brand or product that you're promoting out there, you too have to think about what are your key messages. So what makes you unique, what makes you different, what makes you the person that this company wants to hire, or the person that a group in class wants to lead the team. So think about that and consider your audience.
Okay, she sort of touched upon this, but we'd love for you to think about this now and as you're leaving. What's your pitch? And to Jessica's point, if you really can't come up with the answer to that dreaded request in an interview, so tell me about yourself, then the first business at hand when you leave today is to do exactly that. Figure out how you would respond in a couple of lines, because every interaction is an opportunity, and you don't want to throw it away by not being able to articulate what you want, where you want to go, and what value you can bring to any situation. Next one, and I sort of just alluded to it, it's all about who you know. Your network is your net worth. And basically that just means that the people in your life are going to be one of your most valuable resources whether you're looking for a job or, well, when you're trying to get anything done. You know this, right? Your community, 80% of senior jobs are filled through personal connections. But frankly, more and more how you stand out is that people are vouching for you and the connections that you're able to make through alumni associations, through organizations, your colleagues at wherever you've worked in the past, your classmates. You are typically only a few people away from the job of your dreams. It's just a matter of understanding and how to mine your network in order to make those connections. And important to stay in touch with people, even if you aren't looking for a job, you don't need anything from them right now. Stay in touch lightly with people throughout the year.
The other thing that we are big believers in are informational interviews. And in fact, we interview someone in our book who has been on about 100 informational interviews over her career and has landed every single job. She works in the TV news business, has landed every single job through informational interviews. She started with her alumni association and built it from there. And the fact is, most people are willing to talk about themselves and how they came up in the business. The trick is, you know, a lot of people are going to say no because they're busy. But if you reach out to enough people and you do it in the right way and you make it convenient for them, don't take up a lot of their time, have it be on their turf, you know, in their office or at a nearby Starbucks, buy them the coffee, come prepared, do your research about the company or the industry or the person.
Right. You want to ask smart questions and you want to say thank you. Because thank you goes a long way. I know certainly if I meet with people and I do a lot of informational interviews, we both hire a lot of people, have hired a lot of people in our lifetime, and those who do not send thank yous actually end up hurting themselves, shooting themselves in the foot.
Absolutely. It's hugely important.
Right. And then finally, there was something I was going to say, but I've forgotten completely.
Well, I mean, just to circle back to what you talked about at the beginning, is there are so many ways in which to network now, both in person. We still believe in the face-to-face, going to networking events, going to events like this, you know, sticking around after and talking to people, leveraging your alumni connections, and, you know, even sending a note to someone if you saw that someone at a company you want to work at won an award or something, sending a note, you know, without being stalkerish. I have a funny side story of someone who wanted an internship at Hearst and had actually laminated my wedding announcement from the New York Times onto like a wooden thing that you hang on your wall, and that to me was a bit creepy until I did realize when I turned it over, it had her last name on the lamination company. I think her dad like owned the lamination company. That was she stood out, not in necessarily the way.
Not in a good way necessarily.
She should have, exactly, and I did not hire her.
The point really is that every interaction is an opportunity. Nothing is throwaway. You're going to the grocery store, you're in an airport, you are walking down the street. Just understand that what you're putting out there is going to impact, and you could make those connections that make sense.